video's for anyone who feels like it's hard to grow on Instagram and TikTok and you're wondering why. Because it is. So I'm going to share with you 3 biggest mistakes you're making that's hindering you from growing your following and generating leads. And by the way, it's the 3rd tip that you're probably making right now that's really stopping you. So go ahead and save this video for later because you're not going to want to miss any of these dynamic tips. Now, before I jump into the 3 biggest mistakes, I want to share with you this quick story. So I remember when I was interviewing at A&E television networks, right? I interviewed with 3 executive producers and they absolutely loved me. And then they gave the job to someone else. But they told me to keep in touch. So I followed up for an entire year. I would reach out to them. I would say, hey, how you doing? Happy holidays. I heard A&E was in the news. And then 1 full year later, they ended up reaching out to me and offering me a higher position. Why was that? Because I was top of mind. So my question to you is, are you top of mind? When people come to your page and then they leave, are they still thinking about you? Let me tell you, if you are not top of mind, this is most likely the reason why it's extremely hard for you to grow your following. See, there are so many business owners on Instagram and on TikTok. And if your content is blending in with everyone else's and it's not standing out, it's going to be extremely hard to grow your following. So how to be top of mind? You have to become the person that people want to remember, because if you don't, you are not going to grow your following and you're definitely not going to generate any leads. See, the difference between a follower and a lead is a follower joins your online community on Instagram or TikTok and you can interact with them, but that's just about it. But a lead is someone who is loyal and demonstrates that they are ready to work with you. Now, this is what you want, because leads buy, followers browse. So I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest mistakes that you're making right now. And trust me, I'm pretty sure number 3 is the biggest issue that you have. So right about here, you want to save this for later so that you don't miss any of these tips. The first mistake is having a mixed message. Yes, your audience is confused because they do not know what it is that you offer and they don't know how you help them. So I remember I do Instagram and TikTok audits for my audience, and there was one person who I was helping. She's a brand photographer. Her bio said one thing, but her content said another. How many of you are guilty of that? So she said, I'm a brand photographer, but the content that she was releasing was that of a content coach. So it was a little bit hard for her to grow her following because her content wasn't resonating with her audience, and that was because she was sending mixed messages. You do not want to confuse your audience. Why? Because a confused mind never buys. So you want to make sure that your message is clear and it is memorable. A memorable message rolls off your tongue and is easy for your audience to remember. Let me give you an example from Jesus's life. When Jesus was walking this earth, his memorable message was, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And it was so good that even till this day, 2,000 plus years later, we still remember it. But not only that, his memorable message compelled the right people to come to him and repelled the wrong people. How do we know? Because whenever he landed on the scene, who actually came to him? The woman who was bleeding for 12 years. She was desperate. Sis was probably sick. She probably could barely move, but she knew he got what I need and I'm going to run after him or even crawl after him, right? But not only her, anyone who was sick, anyone who felt like, oh my goodness, I need the way, I need the truth, I need life, let me come to him. But who did he repel? He repelled the Pharisees. The Pharisees felt like, I already know the way. The Pharisees felt like, I already have the truth, and therefore they didn't come to him. But Jesus isn't the only example. John the Baptist also had a memorable message, and his was, repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. And till this day, it rolls off of our tongue. See, your memorable message is what draws your people onto you. So if you're struggling to grow your following, it's time to go back and understand, what is it that I'm releasing? What is my message that's going to draw my people onto me? Your message should move the masses. I'll give you another example. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was another one who his message was, I have a dream. And because of that, he compelled the right people who believed in that same dream. People who felt like they were underserved, people who were poor. They had the same dream. They were tired of segregation. They were tired of being mistreated, right? But who did he repel? The KKK and anyone else who was okay with status quo. They did not go to Dr. Martin Luther King. But notice how Dr. Martin Luther King's message was able to move the masses and cause such a big impact. That's the type of messaging that I'm talking about on Instagram and TikTok. Now, some of you are like, okay, Star, but those people are such a long time ago. Apple is another great example because their message is think different. And look, I believe it is 80% of phone users are iPhone people, right? That's because we know better. I know all the Android people just got mad at me, right? But it's okay. What I'm letting you know is if you do not have a memorable message that moves the masses, it's going to be really hard to grow your following. The second biggest mistake is your content isn't captivating enough. This one is huge. If you do not create engaging content, that means your content is boring and your audience is probably going elsewhere. There are 1.4 billion users on Instagram and 1.2, I believe, on TikTok. And about 30% of those users are business owners vying for the attention of your audience. That means that your audience is constantly doing this all day. If you do not create content that stops the scroll, guess what? They will scroll on by. They will not buy from you, right? So how do we fix this? Well, actually, Jesus gave us the remedy in Matthew 5:13. Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth. If the salt loses its flavor, the only thing it's good for is to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." Stop creating content that gets trampled underfoot. These are when the people are scrolling past your content. Instead, you want to create salty content. So here's what salty stands for. S, searchable. Your content should be easily found by your ideal customers. I'm talking about when they're typing into Instagram and TikTok for the solution to their problem, your content should pop up. If it doesn't, that means you're invisible. A, actionable. You should be creating content that causes your audience to take 2 action steps, to follow you and buy from you. And if they're not doing that, on to the next. And L stands for Likeable. Your content should resonate with your audience in a way that they're like, oh, I'm still thinking about it. This is how you become top of mind. T stands for Testable. I know a lot of you like to think if I post it, they will come. That's a movie. Leave it for the movies. That's also a lie. You have to test your content. I mean, literally, test, pivot. You got to test, pivot. Test, pivot. That's my song for my audience. We all know it. You got to put out your content and test and see what is resonating and what is not. And then Y stands for Yearnable. If your audience is yearning for your content, you know what you just did? You just created binge-worthy content. And guess what happens when your audience binge? The next logical step is for them to buy. How do I know? Well, let's take a quick poll. How many of you have a Netflix account? I know I do. And then how many of you have a Hulu account? I'm guilty again. Feel free to write some yeses in the chat too. And then how many of you have a Apple Music account? Because we're not just binging shows. We're also binging audio, right? Some of you got Prime. You're binging Amazon Prime boxes, right? Now, you are binging this content every month, and every month you are paying for it. So what I do is I show you how to create that same exact experience on your page so that now your audience is binging your content, you're growing your following, and then you're converting your followers into customers. Let's move on to the third biggest mistake, because this is the one that a lot of you are overlooking, all because you just don't know how. Are you ready for it? The third biggest mistake is you're not building a community. I get it. We're using Instagram. We're using TikTok as our free marketing tool. But at the end of the day, we still got to be social. And if we look at Jesus as another example, Jesus actually took time to build his community. He took time to have genuine conversations with his audience as he was growing his following. Don't get Jesus wrong. When he walked this earth, he came here for 2 reasons: to grow his following and then convert those followers into believers, right? That's the same strategy that we're doing. We're growing our following and then we're converting our followers into buyers. What are buyers? Buyers are believers who believe that you can help them get their transformation. So when you are showing up on Instagram, when you are showing up on TikTok, and you are taking time to have conversations with your audience, now they feel seen, now they feel heard, and guess what they want to do? They want to follow you. They want to follow you because they now see you as the way, the truth, and the light, which is what God said that you are. That's the reason why when we show up, we don't just post to post. We post with a purpose. And our purpose is to grow our following and then convert our followers into buyers. Now, some of you are like, whoo, I wasn't expecting all of this. Yes, I love teaching Bible marketing secrets to help you stand out on Instagram and TikTok so that your audience will see you as the expert and authority, just like we see Jesus. So those are the 3 biggest mistakes that's hindering you from growing your following and generating your leads. Again, the first one is having mixed messaging on your page. That's why people aren't following you. The second one is your content isn't captivating enough. And the third one is you're not building a community. When you fix all of these 3 things, you're going to see a difference in your following. If you loved everything that you heard and you recognize, wait a second, I still need help with this. I don't know how to craft a memorable message. I don't know how to create captivating content. And I don't know how to build a community, comment the word help below so I can send you a free resource that will help you do all of this.